Hey all, welcome back to Cracking the FAANG interviews. Today we're going to be talking about a very important topic on how do you get a software internship at FAANG in 30 days. So often at times you're, grad student, you're looking for internships, or even if you're in undergrad, your career fair's coming up or you have an interview call. How do you prep yourself? So you might have 3 to 4 weeks. So before I even get to the prep, what I want to touch upon today is what is expected of you, right? When an interviewer calls you for an interview, what are they looking for, especially for a software internship role? I also made a similar video for AI/ML roles, which is artificial intelligence, machine learning, or data science. If you haven't already checked that out, the link is in the description. Today, I'm going to be focusing on my experience as an interviewer for 10 years at FAANG. And this is applicable to other tech companies as well. So let's first start with what they are looking for, right? The first thing is software skills. They want to know if you're familiar with at least one of these, high profile programming languages, be it C++, Java, or Python. And the way they're going to test you on this is, of course, coding questions. We'll get into that in a bit. I also would like to call this out as algorithms and data structure understanding, right? That's exactly what they mean by software skills. They don't want you to be extremely familiar with syntax. Syntax is still okay. What matters is how do you approach a problem? What kind of data structures do you apply? Again, I'm saying apply rather than invent. They want to see how you're able to use concepts that you've learned in your algorithm data structures class and solve an actual problem. So that's that. Then system design, right? How would you build a streaming service like Netflix as an example? They could ask you another question like, how do you build Amazon Prime, or how do you build a recommendation system like the Facebook news feed, right? Or even something like WhatsApp. How would you build a system like WhatsApp? What they're interested in here, there's no right answer to these questions. Remember, try to first scope the problems and then come up with trade-offs for each of your design choices. These are the only two things they are extremely interested in. And of course, you'll also be drawing a block diagram to showcase all the interaction. Maybe you're making a monolithic service or a distributed service. Why are you choosing what is what they want to know? So please be very clear about your trade-offs. I'll do another video on system design later, take a few examples, solve them for you to make it more profound. Let's jump on to the third thing they're looking for, the behavioral rounds. A lot of companies do that. I know Apple does this and Amazon does this through leadership principles. What are they asking you here is how do you work in a team, right? What kind of problems have you run into in your maybe lab being in college? And how do you communicate? These are a few examples. They could ask you questions like, tell me about a time when one of your project partners was not able to deliver on his piece. What did you do? So these kinds of open-ended questions which show them your character as a team player. So try to prep for it. And I have these in priority order. All of these are important, but I would start with the major components and work towards this. Fourth is projects. What they want to see is this acronym that I use all the time. It's called CIDS. The complexity of your project, right? What are you trying to solve? Is this a real life problem or is it just a modeled hypothetical question? Then your interests, right? What are you interested in? Are you trying, does your interest align with the internship they're looking to hire for? For example, if company X is hiring for, somebody to work on a streaming protocol, right? A streaming microservice. Have you done something which requires real-time interaction or traffic? So this is what they look for when they look at your project's interests specifically. Then design, whenever you make a project, be very clear in your design, right? Why have you made certain choices and the trade-offs, as I said earlier in system design. So all the advice we discussed in number 2 is going to apply directly here. And scope, how do you scope the problem, right? It could be an extremely open-ended problem. How do you bring it down into a class project and you're able to solve it and show impact? So focus on that. And I have a few tips here, right? When we talk about interests, be very clear in your trade-offs for every design choice during the project. And also, bullet number C is something we already discussed, is are any of your projects actually related to the internship you're applying for? So think about industry problems before you go on to pick a class project. I think that's very important. An example of this could be, for example, when you search in Microsoft Word, and you've made a spelling mistake, the search doesn't really work as well. How do you solve this as a class project, right? So think about these kinds of opportunities. These are industry grade problems, and you having solved them will show a lot of interest and alignment with the role they are hiring for. All right, let's move on to how do you prepare, right? Once you know what the interviewer is looking for, how do you prep yourself for the interview? The first thing that I mentioned was algorithm and data structures again, right? And if you haven't already, check out our other videos. We've solved most important 100 questions that's typically asked in coding interviews. If you get done with them, I feel you'll have a good solid start to your interview journey. And my recommendation would be plan to solve at least 100 problems before you start your interviews. And when I say, you can do all of this in 30 days, I mean it. The way you can do that is if you do 5 problems a day, this would get you there in 20 days time, right? You'd be able to do 100. So think about, break it down into smaller chunks, look at 5 a day, try to push yourself. Maybe initially the pace might not be there, you'd be able to do 2 or 3, try to jump to 5. Once you get that steady pace, you'll still be able to do it all in 30 days time. Then for system design, I highly recommend online articles and other YouTube videos. I'll leave a few links in the description down below. And projects, we discussed our acronym called CIDS: complexity, interest, design, and scope. Think through each of those as you scope and design your project. And again, this is something you should work on throughout the year. This is not something you build before an interview. And my tips are, think about industry problems when you pick for class projects. Make a portfolio for yourself on GitHub. You should have your code on there. You should also link this your GitHub to your resume, and also share a report on GitHub so the interviewer can actually look at it if they're interested in knowing more about what you've done. So this is pretty straightforward. I'm really motivated to tell you can do it in 30 days. Just try to prioritize, do the right things, solve the right problems, prioritize the lead code mediums, look at our coding videos, and pick your projects nicely, and I'm sure you're going to be successful. Thank you for watching yet another video from Cracking the FAANG Interviews. If you've liked this exclusive FAANG internship video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more. Thank you so much.